Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Katarina. Today's video is going to be an introduction for a new series here on my channel. So this series is called Shop My Shadows. So it's kind of like Shop My Stash, but it's all about eyeshadows. And in this video I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and I will show you the eyeshadows I will use in January. So I will be picking up different eyeshadows each month. My biggest goal is that during 2019 I want to touch all of my eyeshadows at least once. Before I decided that I will do a no buy year in 2019, I thought I'm going to do a painted palette. I have been panning an eyeshadow palette this year and I have really been enjoying it. But when I decided to go on a no buy year, I knew that painted palette is not something I want to do during that year. Instead, I want to rotate through my whole collection, and this series is all about that. Getting to know my eyeshadow collection. And some of the eyeshadows that I do have in my collection, I may end up decluttering. Some palettes I may depot, and some palettes I will obviously keep. But when we come to 2020, I don't want to have any eyeshadows in my collection that I have not used or that I don't like. So how I'm going to do this is that each month I'm going to pick eyeshadows that I will use that month. In the first month of the year I will still be keeping my painted palette in the rotation, because I started my painted palette in April 2018 and I will be panning it till April 2019. But the painted palette is no longer my main focus. But I have sorted all of my eyeshadows into different categories. So I do have 4 different categories plus my painted palette. So the main category that I do have here is my main eyeshadow palettes. So these are larger palettes that are a mix of shimmery and matte eyeshadows, and I will be one of those each month. Then I do have another category called side palettes. Those are a little bit smaller palettes. And then one category is matte eyeshadow palettes. And then the final category is single shadows. Each month I will pick one main eyeshadow palette, and then I will pick some other eyeshadows from those different categories. They are not so specific. I can pick what I feel like is appropriate to the season. One thing I want to mention quickly before we get into the January's eyeshadows is that I counted all of my eyeshadows together. So I do have 341 eyeshadows plus my painted palette. If I divide that 341 eyeshadows with 12 months, it's 28.5 eyeshadows each month. So I will keep that number just as a guideline, so I know how much I approximately want to have eyeshadows each month. I think that was everything for the introduction part. So if you want to see the palettes I'm going to be using in January, keep on watching. Okay, so I do have my January eyeshadows back here. This month I do have only eyeshadow palettes. I do not have any singles. So let's first talk about products in project pans. I do have here my painted palette, as I told you. So I'm panning the BH Cosmetics Carli Bybel palette. I do have here only 5 eyeshadows left. And then there is these highlighters that I have excluded from my panning. My goal for my painted palette next update is to finish up this shimmery brown completely, and as you can see there is really not much eyeshadow there. One thing I am really happy about this palette is that I do have these matte plums left here. So January is exactly the time when I do enjoy this kind of shadows. They are a little bit more cool toned, and I will have later in the other palettes some shimmery eyeshadows that I think will go so beautifully with these. Then another palette that I do have in project pan currently is this e.l.f. Matte for Matte palette. So this one I do have in Budget Beauty's project pan. Budget Beauty's is a fantastic ladies collaboration. This project will end in January 17th, so that's why I wanted to still keep this palette in rotation. And also I do have an all shimmery palette coming. I need some matte eyeshadows with that one, so I decided to pick this to be my matte eyeshadow palette of January. Then I do have here one shimmery eyeshadow palette. So this one is the theBalm Shady Lady Special Edition palette. This one is no longer available. It's quite old. I bought it in 2015 First I thought that I will pick this palette somewhere during fall into my rotation, but then I thought that I want to get it out of the way now, and I think some of these eyeshadows will go so beautifully with those mattes in my BH Cosmetics Carli Bybel palette, and the rest of these go very well with the eyeshadows in my e.l.f. Matte for Matte palette. And then we do have my main palette of the month left. So this is my Urban Decay Naked Smoky palette. This palette is one of my favorite palettes in my whole collection. Not because of the color story, but because I do have quite a huge sentimental attachment to it. This palette has been my party palette when I used to go to parties. I don't really go anymore, but this has traveled with me to festivals and to different parties. I know it's weird, but I have this sentimental attachment to it. But this is what it looks like. As I told you already, I do enjoy cool toned eyeshadows in winter, so I knew right away that this would be my main palette in January. Okay, so that was everything for this video, everything for my introduction for my Shop My Shadows series. If you have anything to ask about it, please ask down in the comments, and those were also the eyeshadows I'm going to use in January. And by the way, those eyeshadows in those palettes counted together are 36 eyeshadows in total. I think that's very manageable. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did like this, please put thumbs up and see you in my next video. Bye bye.